What is up, guys? So today we're going to talk about prison. I haven't done a prison video for a while, and I'm going to talk about when peedo got one over on me. Well, I don't know if he was a peedo. He was definitely a wrong un, and he tried blending it on the wing, and he tricked me into believing that somebody else was a peedo, but really it was him, which is a common tactic used by these wrong uns when they're trying to blend it on normal location. Well, this morning, I got up this morning, I was watching the news, and they're saying that they're running out of, like all the chemists are running out of stock, and people are struggling, people are dying because they don't got the right medicine in stock. And you know why that is? Everybody knows why it is. It's because of mass immigration is ruining the country, and yet they're telling us that this mass immigration is making the country better, but it's not. You'd have to be a complete idiot to think that all this diversity and the message, all this inclusion and all that crap, it's just ruining everything. It's never been as dangerous as what it is now. There's no point going to the doctors. I don't bother going anymore. You can't go to the hospital. When I was growing up, if you needed to go to the accident and emergency, you could go there. You might have to be there for like an hour and a half, 2 hours. Then you'd get seen and you'd get sorted. But now you're there for like 2 or 3 days. They send you home after 24 hours and tell you to come back the next day. And then when you do see someone, they'll just say, like, I remember when my dad went, he had a bad back. And he's waited like 2 days to get in. And they said, oh, yeah, you've got a bad back. Like, we never know that. We'll put you down for an x-ray in 6 months' time. It's like 6 months. It's absolutely ridiculous. You go to the doctors now and have a look round and it'll just be foreigners with like 5 or 6 kids, like coughing all over the place. And half of them, there's no wrong with them, but it's hope for no. They're going up there like, oh, we'll get free tablets, we'll get free cough medicine, we'll get free... And it's just all foreigners. And movies now, I can't even enjoy movies. Celebrities, when I was growing up, celebrities were like Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone and proper man's men, and they'd be in movies blowing things up. Now it's all celebrities are massive pussies now. They come on stage. I saw one the other day, right? And it was that woman who plays Gamora in the Guardians of the Galaxy. I thought she was a good actor, And she's come up on stage and she won an award, and she's the first Dominican woman to win an award or something. And she was on stage crying, so, this is for all the brave women out there coming to Hollywood. It's brave women. You don't know what it's like in the real world, do you? You don't know what it's like waking up on the streets. You don't know what it's like being a heroin addict and being homeless and having to navigate through the streets as a woman. You don't really know what brave is. You don't know what it's like in the real world, like Ricky Gervais says. And there's such pussies now. They're all dressed up trying to give us advice on politics from £1 million suit on, and it's like, you've got no idea. And it just winds me up. And they're all pussies now. They're all full of makeup. They all look absolutely ridiculous. That Millie Bobby Brown, she used to be a stunning young lady, and now she just looks like the rest of the puppets. And she's saying, oh, you're bullying me. Well, if you because she's getting a bit of stick online. If you go away, spend like 50 grand on lip injections and to get your face redone, then people are going to comment on it. It's not bullying. There was no need to do it in the first place. But it just feels like the world is just a clown show now, and all the movies are crap now because they don't cast the right people. They're just casting people that are black or Chinese or just based on the colour of where they're from. And they'll just remake old movies that were awesome when they first came out, and then they'll remake them, gender swap the main character. They'll have a black woman lead, a second black woman, then they'll have a Chinese man, then they'll have a mixed race trans man, and then right at the back, snivelling in the corner that can't tie his own shoelaces, there'll be a white dude just getting beat up all the time. And the main character will be like a skinny little 5-foot woman, and she's beating up 9 blokes in a pub, and it's like, well, that's not realistic, is it? What a load of crap. And yeah, it just feels like the world is just a clown show now, full of pretentious, annoying celebrities who are not allowed to be actual men's men anymore. even men have got like Botox and lip fillers and all that shit. It's just, I don't know. I just feel like the world's turned into a massive pussy. But anyway, that's my little rant about the state of the world now. So yeah, prison. Now the first time you get to prison, it's like, it's weird prison. There's a great quote from, what is it now? Shawshank Redemption, I think it is. And he says, I think it's Red who says it, and he says, the world, these walls, they're funny. They're saying first you hate them, and then you grow to love them, and then you depend on them. And it's so true, you know. That's what institutionalized is. And like, I get it myself a little bit. Like if I see someone on TV, maybe 24 hours in police custody or some prison show, and you see the cells, you hear the noises, the echoing voices, the loud shouting noises, and it brings it all back. You can smell the smells, the keys jingling, and you think about that detoxing smell, and then it all comes flashing back. And then a part of me is like, I'd love to go back there, you know, just to see what it's like, just to see how it's changed. But then when you do get back there, as soon as you walk on the wing, you're like, oh no, I forgot how shit it is. It's absolutely crap. It's boring. It's rubbish. You have to it's violent as well. It's like, I always say it's like being in a playground, you know, with childish insults, but it's got deadly consequences. You get people getting their throat cut over a game of pool, or people getting stabbed over a game of cards. It can be life or death, and it can be nothing to do with you. Just a quick example off the top of my head, like you could be, in fact there was one, what happened to me, I guess I was the wrong place, wrong time, and I just landed in prison. I don't know if I spoke about this before, I think I have, but I just landed in prison and I was fresh from drugs, detoxing, you know, skinny, ravished, long hair, you know, probably weighed like 7 stone or something. And I was detoxing really hard, and I thought, I'm going to go on yard, get a bit of fresh air, because you're allowed an hour out on the yard every day just to walk around in the fresh air. So I've gone out, I'm walking around, and somebody comes to the window. I know now it was a kid called Rob Linsky. I didn't know him back then. And he's come to the window, he's shouting, yeah, he's a fucking grass, him. So I'm looking up like, who's a grass? And he was talking to me. I was like, what? And I probably didn't do myself any favours, because I'd never been in that situation before. No one's ever called me a grass before, or, you know, I've never grassed anybody up. And he came to the window and he said, hey, he's a grass. So I could feel myself burning up, going bright red. And I started stuttering because I'd never been in that situation before. I was like, what? And then he went. So I'm here now, somebody's just called me a grass, I'm bright red and stuttering. So I probably looked like I was a grass. And for that entire hour, oh man, it was horrible. I fucking, everywhere I went, people were moving away from me. I thought, oh my God, this is not good. I'm going to get killed here. And luckily, when I went back onto the wing, I was stuck on the yard for an hour. And then when we went back in, I'm thinking, fuck me, what am I going to do? And luckily, I knew the wing rep, who, I didn't know him that well, but he knew me and knew all my mates, and he knew they wouldn't have no to do with me if I was a grass. So he knew I was solid. And I said to him, someone's fucking calling me a grass out there. And he said, who? And one of the lads must have seen it, and he knew him. He said, oh, it's Linsky. Linsky's calling him a grass. So he says, right, leave it with me. And he got sorted pretty quick, you know. He went over, had a word. And then Linsky moved onto the wing, like, probably about 5 days later. So I went straight up to him. I said, bro, what are you doing? Why do you call me a grass on the yard? I said, you nearly got me killed. He says, oh, sorry, I got you mixed up. I thought you were somebody else. It's like, fucking hell. And that's the thing, you know, I couldn't have done anything in that situation. I didn't do nothing wrong, but, you know, I got mistaken for somebody else. And by the way, we ended up being really good friends with Linsky. You know, I've got a lot of time for him now. Well, I hadn't seen him for a while, but every time I go to jail, he was there. Done loads of jail with Linsky. I used to hang about with him, actually, when we got out of prison. So we ended up being pretty good friends. But the first time he saw me, he nearly got me killed. And that's what it's like in prison. And there was another time with a kid, see, if there's somebody comes to prison and they're wrong and they know they're going to get hammered, so they'll ask the screws, the officers, say, oh, I'm in for a bad charge, I'm probably going to get beat up, can you put me on protection? But when they're on protection, they're in a cell like 23 hours a day. I think they only get an hour's exercise because by law you have to have that. But the rest of the time they're banged up. They're in. You can see the cells when you go on the yard. All the windows are banged shut, bolted shut, painted black, so you can't see in there. So you can't throw piss at them or out like that. And they're banged up all the time. So obviously nobody wants to be on a nonce wing banged up all the time. So they'll come and sneak on normal location and try and blend it and say, oh, I'm in for shoplifting or something, when really, they've got dodgy charges. And I remember one kid came up to me once, and looking back, I should have known. His name was Fiddler, which should have been a red flag, but it wasn't. But he's come up to me and he said, oh, there's a wrong and on wing. And I was like, oh yeah. I mean, usually if there's, all that wrong and stuff, I just stay well away from it. If there's a wrong and on wing, I won't talk to him, I won't go around him. I don't know what to do with it. There is people in there, people like Brett May is a good example, who will just steam into the cell. If someone's wrong and he'll just steam in there, just batter him, and then ask questions later. But I just stay away from him, usually. But this kid's come up to me and said, oh, there's a wrong and on wing. And I said, oh, it says him over there. So I've got a few lads together, and we've gone over to this kid and give him a bit of a squeeze and says, look, you're supposed to be wrong, we want to see your paperwork. And he's like, man, no problem. So he's pulled his paperwork out. That's why I always say, always make sure you've got like a solicitor's letter or something with your charges on, just in case somebody asks you. And I've said, a few lads went round and I says, look, you're supposed to be wrong and want to see your paperwork. So he showed us his paperwork. He said, who's fucking saying that like? And we said, him over there. And he said, he's fucking wrong and check his paperwork. He says, I didn't want to say out, because these lads were new on wing and they didn't want to cause any disruption. He said, I didn't want to say out, but he's the fucking wrong and you want to go and check his paperwork. So we've gone back and said, yeah, he's saying you're a fucking wrong and want to see your paperwork. So he's said, oh yeah, all right, no problem. I'll fish it out after bang up. I'll go through my stuff and I'll get my paperwork. So we've locked everybody up, and then as they've locked everybody out, we was going to go down to his cell and check his paperwork out, and his door's locked. So, obviously he's banged himself up, and he's covered his little flap up so he can't see in there. And he was the wrong one, but he was trying to blend it by projecting. And you see a lot of that on YouTube now. People who are dodgy, they'll always talk about other people being dodgy, but they're the ones that are dodgy, And anyway, he moved his set off at wing, but I should have known his name was fucking Fiddler, for fuck's sake. I don't know what wrong and charge he had, but it was something. It was definitely a wrong and for something. But yeah, and people get institutionalized because, like in prison, you're somebody, like me, for example. When I was a heroin addict, I was homeless. I didn't have nothing. I've lost everything I ever had through addiction. So I had nothing. I didn't even have anywhere to live. But then when you get to prison, you're somebody. You can set up a shop. You can sell tobacco. People respect you. People will stand up and fight for you. So you feel like somebody in prison. And one of the best advice I can give anybody who's going down that road, I mean, obviously the best thing is stay away from prison, but if you do end up in that situation, make sure you get a good cellmate, because if you're padded up with someone who you don't like, it's horrible. It just makes your prison even worse. Like, if you're like me, just chilled out, and then your cellmate comes in, he wants to play music all the time, really loud all hours. He's got like 10, 20 dudes coming in all the time. Shit's going missing, and it's just stress what you don't need. So the best thing to do is find the smallest, weakest kid on the wing and get padded up with him. And then he's got no friends, he's got nothing. So you just say, yeah, get him with me, and then there's no drama. But yeah, you've got to make the best of it when you're in prison. What I used to do is like little tricks, to make your time go to make your time go faster. And what I used to do is, like when I first get locked up, coming from the street, so you're not used to eating when you're a heroin addict. You don't eat no. I used to have like a couple of yogurts every 2 days, and that was it. I was as skinny as you can be. I was one step away from death. That's how skinny I was. And they actually put me on milkshakes to bulk me up when I first got there, because they couldn't believe how skinny I was. And they says, look, we need to fatten you up, because you're going to fucking die here. But I couldn't eat it because I was rattling, so I was puking it back up. So they put me on these little calorie milkshakes or something. And what happens when you first get locked up from the streets, because you're so skinny, you want to eat stuff all the time. So you eat loads of food, you go back for seconds just to put the weight back on. And I used to end up with really bad stomach, like trapped wind from fucking scoffing food. And then at the end of the day, you'd just be ripping arse in the cell. And and what I used to do was, I used to go in the cell. If I ever had a stomach ache, I knew I was going to be up all night fucking farting. So I'd go in the cell, and I was always be on the bottom bunk, because the daddy of the cell's always on the bottom bunk. So I would go in, and my cellmate would be on the top bunk, and I'd say to him, I'd say, yeah, he's got weed next door, I'm telling you. And he'd be like, has he? I'd be like, yeah, definitely got weed. To like plant the seed. And then I'd jump on my bed, and I'd feel my stomach rumbling. I'd be like, fucking hell. And then I'd lean to the side, open up the cheeks, and just do a silent but deadly. And then I'd be like, oh, he's got weed. Can you smell it? I can smell that weed. And cellmate would be going, oh, I can't smell it. I was saying, yeah, he's definitely got weed. And then he'd be going, oh, you fucking... And I'd be on bottom bunk like... And that's what sort of thing you've got to do, just to keep the... Just have a laugh, and maybe make fun of the screws a bit. Not in a like mean or nasty way, just have a laugh at their expense. Because everybody loves having a laugh at the screws. Everybody loves making fun of the screws. But anyway, I've rambled on enough. That's what it's like when you get to prison. But I've had a couple hairy situations, because it can go from, like, you could be doing nothing wrong. Let's say you're walking around the wing and somebody's getting filled in a cell. You walk past and you can see it's happening. They look up while they're filling them in. They've seen that you've looked in. And then later on they'll get nicked. And they'll be like, oh, well, someone must have grassed us up. Even though there's cameras all over the fucking wing, it's obvious who did it. But the criminal mind is, oh, someone must have grassed us up. Well, it was him. He was walking past. So then whoever walked past and saw it, he's a grass now. So then he's going to get beat up, and he's not even done it wrong. And that's what it's like in that prison environment. 1 minute you're playing cards, playing pool, and then the next minute you're in a fight for your life over something that's nothing to do with you. And that's the reality of prison. And when I look back, I think to myself, I wouldn't mind going back for a couple of days. But I know if I got there, it'd be absolutely shit, because you forget how crap it is. But I did spend like 90% of my time in prison laughing my ass off, because you've got to make the best of the situation. But overall, it's crap, it's boring, it's depressing, it's violent, and everybody can't wait to get out. So it's not that good, is it? It's definitely not a holiday camp. Some people don't make it out, they get bullied to death. And that's the reality of prison. But anyway, if you like this video, press the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. Munch to YouTube, Munch to.